Shalom guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of Rosh Hashanah. We spoke about the day in which the civil year starts and the trumpets are sounded, the service of the temple. It is when Elohim is enthroned, God is enthroned, and then the millennial or the messianic reign begins. And so we're going to talk about a key point of this commemoration from Teruah, Rosh Hashanah, through Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And there's a focal person and an image that is very important, at least in our faith, understanding that there's a door and that he is going to represent us and judge us and give us the access to the kingdom. So from the Jewish perspective, what is Messiah, right? Because we believe that maybe Christ began with Christianity, but no, Messiah has been, the Anointed One has been something that the Jewish and the Israelite people have been waiting for a very long time. So we're going to understand what the term Messiah has meant and what it means to us. So let's get started. So the term Messiah, which comes from Mashiach, is the anglicized form that had preceded the messianic concept by many centuries. Originally, the biblical usage simply meant the anointed and referred to one that was chosen to represent God, like Aaron and his sons, that were anointed with oil to serve God. The priest in particular was the term that they used, the Anointed One, Mashiach of God. With the establishment of the monarchy, the same term was applied to the king. He was the Anointed One of the Lord because he was installed in his high office by receiving the sacrament of anointment. Third type of a divinely elect, the prophet, would also undergo the ceremony of anointing. Elijah, we read, was commanded by God to anoint Yehoshua, king of Israel, and Elisha as a prophet in his own place. Okay, now ancient Jewish scholars and rabbis began to study scriptural information about the Messiah. And they encounter serious problems, and many of them and passages are contradicting one another, often seen as a conquering king. That's how the Messiah was seen, coming in judgment and establishing reign and peace on earth from Jerusalem. But there was also one that was a suffering servant who would come in humility and will be rejected and despised by his people and will die for the sins of men and will then be resurrected by God. Most of the messianic passages of the Bible, as well as the majority of the rabbinic commentary, are centered in the conquering king. This passage presents him as a dynamic personality who is anointed by God, not only to crush his enemies, but also to regather the dispersed of Israel and usher a golden age. Diametrically opposed to this, another personality was also identified as the Messiah. Lowly, humiliated, despised, and persecuted. This one, labeled the suffering servant by modern commentators, was anciently known as Messiah ben Joseph. His life ends in death, unlike his counterpart, the Messiah ben David, the ancient name of the conquering king who is immortal. So now, there has been many messiahs that have been represented and believed to embody this mission. There's Moses, obviously Elijah, King Hezekiah, Menahem ben Amiel, who was born when the first temple was destroyed, Menahem ben Hezekiah, and Barkoch. And so these are men that they believe were close to the Messiah and representing the Messiah. But there's something very interesting about this, and it's that they died. And so the belief is that, the general belief is that the Messiah will come in the time of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur. And so in this time of season, and he will obviously encounter wars, pestilence, death. And so eventually he will redeem his people, establish God's kingdom, but he will not enter the land because he is in a way mirrored by Moses, right? Moses was picked up from a river, established himself in Egypt, in Pharaoh's home. The same with this Messiah. This Messiah will be in the nations, will establish himself, and then he will grow. And he will come and represent. But just as Moses represented his people and it's in his proper time, he didn't go into the land. And so this is where the story takes a turn, because the Messiah will eventually, Ben Joseph, will have to die and before entering the land in the war of Gog and Magog. So this is a simplified version of the belief in some Jewish circles and Jewish belief. And I might get a lot of details wrong, so I apologize if I do. But that is the gist of it, right? And so He will die, 40 days he will be buried, and then after those 40 days, Messiah ben David will rise and will reign. That is the purpose of the Messiah. And so all of these that were named were meant to fulfill that first coming, but they died. And that hope has never died. The Messianic kingdom coming, the Messiah coming has never died. And so we have the Messiah, as we believe, right? Yeshua HaMashiach, son of Joseph, but from the lineage of David, son of God. And he did die, but his father resurrected him, and he is alive. And that is the biggest difference between all the Messiahs that have been established and have believed to have following the Messianic and the Jewish system. Yeshua has been raised. He's alive, and he is in position to come in the days of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Teruah, and the days of all Yom Kippurim and Sukkot, to establish his father's reign and his father's kingdom. So that is the biggest difference that we have, and understanding that our Messiah will do this. And he said this in Matthew chapter 24. Okay, so let's go with that. Yeshua first is in Jerusalem, and he says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets, stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather you children together, the way a hen gathereth her chicks under her wings, and you were unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate. For I say to you, for now you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Now, Matthew 24, verse 28 says the following. But immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will darken, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. And then the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And he will send forth his angels and great trumpet, a great trumpet, a great trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. Now, learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branches has already become tender and puts fruit for its leaves, you know that the summer is near. So this is agricultural understanding of the times and the seasons. So you too, when you see all these things, recognize that is near, right at the door. Truly I say to you, the generation will not pass until these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven nor the Son, but the Father alone. For the coming of the Son will be just like the days of Noah, for as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they did not understand until the flood came and took them all away. So will the coming of the Son of Man. Then there will be two men in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. Two men will be grinding at a mill, and one will be taken and one will be left. Therefore, be on the alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known that what time the night the thief was coming, he will have been in the alert and will not have allowed his house to be broken into. For this reason, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour when you do not think he will. Who then is the faithful and sensible slave who his master put in charge of his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is the slave who his master finds so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will put him in charge for all his possessions. But if the evil slave says in his heart, my master is not coming for a long time, and begins to beat his fellow slaves, eat and drink with drunkards, the master of the slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at the hour which he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place there will be whipping and gashing of teeth. So, a lot of reading, a lot of information. Messiah is not new to the Jewish people. Messiah is a concept understanding that there will be a redeemer. There will be redemption coming. And we understand that our redeemer is Yeshua HaMashiach. He said that trumpet will sound. He said it'll be like the days of Noah. Everybody was doing what they wanted until Noah got in the boat. Noah knew what was coming. We know what's coming. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Teruah, the days of awe, the day of judgment, the holiest day of the year, and then the feast of Sukkot. Be the slave that is found by his master doing well. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get distracted. Stay consistent. Stay obedient, and Messiah will be there, and he will see you doing your best. But not only he will see you doing your best, he will see you doing the right thing. So, with that being said, have a great week. Shalom. Thank you.